Alright, so Dracken+Yezris, the Czech duo versus Wisepii+Neromelnick, the Chilean duo over here, to pose to qualifiers is what we're going to take a look at. So we will have Team Islands and Acropolis as the home map of Dracken+Yezris. Other side, Wisepii+Neromelnick will take Snotsukotra and Rockslide. Civilization-wise, double Viking global ban over here. So neither of the players actually wants to play against the Vikings, probably because of Rockslide, probably because of Team Islands. First pool civilization of Portuguese, Italians, Britons, Aztecs, Lithuanians for Dracken's team, Mayans, Saracens, Chinese, Malay, Celts for Wisepii+'s team. And pool 2 will be Turks, Goths, Spanish, Cumans, Japanese, and Sicilians, Byzantines, Vietnamese, Koreans, and Bulgarians. Apparently no Burgundians in the party today. So, with that being said, we can jump into game number 1 over here. So, let's get going. It is going to be Wisepii+Neromelnick versus Dracken+Yezris. Dracken+Yezris actually a fairly decent performance in a 2v2 World Cup. That's the first place where you could have encountered that. Indeed, this is Chile B and the Czech Republic B in 2v2 World Cup. Both of these teams actually played in there, as we will get going with the first game. So, welcome everybody to the qualifiers, the first round of qualifiers for 2-2. We'll have Wisepii playing as Mayans in yellow. To the south, it's going to be Neromelnick playing as Vietnamese in red. So it looks like Mayans will be their first pool civ, and Neromelnick is going to be using Vietnamese in red, which is going to be the cavalry civ. Now, Vietnamese cavalry is alright, but it's not top tier by any means, especially late Imperial. But what it gives you is vision. And you know where the opponent starts at. You could already see the X on the map. And because of this, there is a possibility for laming, one of the things that Vietnamese can do to you on Arabia. Dracken picking Britons for himself in green, going for an early Borler. That's a very, very early Borler for Dracken. And he's got very, very pushable deer as well. Makes me wonder if he wants a super fast feudal for himself. Maybe something like 20 pop archers. Other side is going to be Cumans for Yezris. So they have a slightly better set rows, as indeed here is the lame coming in from Wisepii. But Yezris seems like he's going to be capable of stopping that, because that scout is very, very weak. As I said, Vietnamese teammates allow you to lame the opponent. The eagle survives, which is important because you can heal it up inside the TC. But still, at the end of the day, you don't really like losing that much HP on your eagle at the beginning. So Dracken actually went for the fast boar. Now that I think about the fact that he's up against Vietnamese, maybe he thought that he could get lamed, so he brought that in very, very fast. He could easily push his deer, and he would have a nice foodic at the beginning. So, with that, you are gonna have back berries, back stone, back gold for Dracken. This gold isn't amazing on the front, but this is a fairly well-volable map for Dracken. For Yezris, he's got an okay-ish map, although the gold mine isn't really great. On the south, Wisepii has a pretty awful gold mine and overall a hard-to-wall map, especially because of the gold mines, so he might need to go all the way in front here, especially with Mayans. And then Neromelnick also has quite underwhelming map, so to say. Technically, he could play like this, so wall here, wall here, wall here, and use this gold mine nicely, but it's gonna be a bit of an effort to protect that one. Indeed, both of these civilizations have great skirmishers, and even though it's very, very unlikely, it technically is possible to see an Imperial skirm with the Hulche Javelineers unique tech. Because Mayans have that unique tech, and with a Vietnamese teammate, they can also go for their play. So, with that, walls are coming up. And for now, it looks like Dracken is going to scare away Neromelnick's scouts over here. HP is actually pretty close. Neromelnick turns back, hits the scout, and survives. That was a nice move from him. Why is this important? It's important because it denies a dare push. You could see that this ostrich is very far away from the rest of them, which means that this was an attempted push at some point, but it failed at the end of the day because of the opponent's scout arriving. With that, we're gonna have Feudal Age coming in here. This is gonna be a fast feudal from the Neromelnick, but he's playing scouts, so this is the rare time where you're actually going to see a 20-pop feudal from Vietnamese. Obviously, Vietnamese give you a lot of nice things with their cavalry. They're not amazing, but the fact that your eco upgrades don't cost wood helps you an awful lot when executing a scout's build. We have a semi-open gameplay from Wisepii+. I'm not sure why he's prioritizing this wall, because that's basically on the side of his teammate. This wall would be a lot more important, or this side as well. Wisepii clicking up the Feudal Age, and what is a 22-pop timing. Dracken will turn this map into an entire arena over here. It looks like he's not gonna vault to the corner over here. Instead, he's just gonna vault all the way around like that. He's gonna have stone at the back though to work with, and that's what matters. That being said, Yezris is going up the feudal at 20 pop. The real question is he just going to do Feudal Age boom here with 2 TCs? Or potentially we're going to see something different? Because it should be scouts, but if you do scouts, you can't really afford a second town center. So that's the biggest question with Cumans in 2v2. In team games, they can afford it because they don't need to go for that heavy scouts at the beginning. But in 2v2, they kind of have to go for a scouts build, and it seems like Yezris is going to go for that. So, votes are up for Neromelnick, or at least he's in the process of doing that. Dracken for now, going for the full votes as well. The Lizard going for the full arena style gameplay. We're gonna have the Scout of Yezris kind of stuck inside the base of Wisepii, so to say. Wisepii going for first range. That's a nice range position, although I would have loved it like 2 more tiles to the front, just to make sure that archers can't actually shoot over them and hit the gold miners on this side either. But it looks like everybody is playing full wars. One of the nice things that you get with Cumans on Arabia though is that you have a team bonus that actually strengthens the wars. So you see that Dracken's wars are also 375 in HP in comparison to 250. This is an extremely important advantage from Cumans on Arabia. So even if you play standard scouts and don't go for second TC, this actually is a nice buff, especially for a player like Dracken that likes to play close maps a lot better. With that being said, Yezris went for a couple of scouts. He notices that his opponent is fully walled. Same is gonna be the case for everybody with the exception of Yezris. Yezris, it looks like he actually wants to wall himself off in the corner like that. Could work nicely, but it depends on when Neromelnick's scouts will arrive, and we could just see boom into Castle Age here. This actually does benefit Cumans, because if you actually fully wall yourself, you can very well add the second TC, because you don't need that many villagers on food for scouts. You can add a couple more on wood instead, and go for a second TC if you want to. For now, it looks like the scouts are just searching for something to hit, and this is the first aggressive move from Wisepii. He's gonna bring in the archers and spearmen to try and push Yezris, but pushing through Cuman walls with archers and spears are nearly impossible. So unless they have scout support, they won't be able to get through these walls. The real question is these walls will go up in time, because the scouts could very well push that side. Archers now will try to do some harassment on the berries, as the scouts might just return and try to take that fight if they want to. Looking at the resources, neither of the players is actually getting close to Castle Age. It looks like this Archer Assault and the potential success of it, with the support of Neromelnick's scouts, will actually drag our red player here to the left, which means that this hole will be closed most likely by Yezris before Neromelnick notices that. Now, here's the deal, that's 2 versus 1, and Dracken right now is just moving out with his archers. So this is a tricky fight, because Yezris is gonna have to hold out against this one with just his own scouts. As long as that spearman is in there, that's challenging. If the spearman is gone, it's not really a big deal, and what Yezris is gonna do is go for bloodlines. Crewman walls hold for longer, and that helps quite a bit. If you get bloodlines here, preferably even +1 defense, then you can definitely take this fight. Archers are now coming in as well for Dracken. You're gonna have to open up the walls over here to do this. Indeed, here comes the opening, not necessarily an ideal spot for multiple reasons, including the fact that if you open here, a villager takes less time to walk here and close it back, because you want to close it back. Nice house walls for Yezris, and they want to sandwich the two armies in between them. Neromelnick finding another angle as well. Archers now on the inside. Castle Age getting closer for Wisepii though, so he's probably going to be the first one clicking up. There is fletching for both players. No archer armor for either side. And now I feel like Yezris will soon have to jump on these archers and spearmen. Remember that he's got faster moving cavalry, which means that he can potentially evade the red army over here with good micro. Overall, he's the one that chooses which engagement to take. He's not going to get chased down by scouts. Until the opponent has husbandry, the Cuman cavalry actually is faster than the standard cavalry. Dracken has to do some massive market usage to go up into Castle Age over here. Goes for range number 3. And Yezris went for a lot of scouts. He needs to get some value for themselves, because if there is no real value for these scouts, then all this investment is gonna be wasted. Archers will find a villager and potentially deny an archer range. Now comes a couple more archers. Wisepii needs to play this one smart and do not unpop the archers over here, because if he does, then he might be forced to take a fight against archers and scouts, and he wants to wait until he has crossbows. He did still unpop his archers, but we'll see if Yezris actually feels like he wants to take that fight. I don't think that they will actually get through these walls. It seems somewhat unlikely, although the house is slowly going down. We'll have full walls for Yezris and Dracken as well. For now, Wisepii is holding his walls to, it's gonna be 3 TCs or 3 ranges worth of archer production over here. So, archers marching up now from Wisepii. Timing is going to be great. Crossbow just now coming in. It looks like he will be able to afford Botkin as well in a matter of moments. A little bit low on gold he is. Goes for Boso first, and now Botkin as well. +2 defense for Neromelnick, and both of the Czech players are still not up to Castle Age, and that's where it gets scary. These crossbows could quickly start melting villagers, and so there is no second TC for Yezris at all, so he just played Cumans just like a standard scout civilization. Nothing special about it. And it looks like Yezris didn't know there is a hole in between those houses. Not gonna lie, that's hard to spot, but that's a disaster, so to say. Crossbow Botkin coming in for the Dracken as well. He's gonna have the extra range as well, which makes it easier to micro. But still, the advantage should be on the side of Wisepii and Neromelnick here. They could try holding this hill and just firing down hills. They're waiting for +1 defense, something that Dracken already got. Knights on the way now. Second TC just now coming in for Yezris. He's up to castle as well. And he's got 2 stables, so he's gonna start getting knights out. He will hold this one nice and easy. Wisepii is gonna go for the second TC as well. And at the end of the day, if you look at the villager KD, Yezris lost 2. But that's not the end of the world, given the fact that he was heavily pushed throughout Feudal Age. Ballistics now just now coming in for the Dracken. It looks like Yezris prioritizes the second TC instead of ballistics, but that might backfire really badly, because the Britain crossbows with ballistics we'll just pick off all those crossbows from the Mayans. Obviously, Britons are sort of on a timer here, because the thing is that their crossbows lack tumbling, so eventually Mayan crossbows will be a lot more cost efficient than they are. Although on the other hand, Vietnamese are also on a timer, because Vietnamese cavalry is gonna be way worse in Imperial than Cuban cavalry. So there is a sense of urgency for both of these teams right now over here, from the perspective that their late game composition for one of their players is not necessarily ideal. It is going to be now 30 crossbows versus 27 voyager count, fairly close as well. And we are gonna have triple ranges production over here for Dracken. His food eco isn't impressing me right now. He's playing 1 TC, so this is a super aggressive crossbow play right now from him, as we will have the crossbows and the knights now contesting the ranges here. Now you might have to fight this one, because especially against Briton crossbows, that gold mine is gone, and that's a massive problem. That gold mine being gone is a significant problem right now, so you have to pull all those units back, and it seems like they sort of underestimated the power of this push here, because it's one thing that the range goes down, that's already less than ideal, but being off from the gold mine is absolutely awful for Wisepii. He's gonna find another gold mine on the left, but this wasn't really ideal. But here comes the sandwich though, and now those mine crossbows take the hill. They do have +2 defense, only +1 for Dracken. You gotta delete those houses, delete this house, because you want to have your knights get a good surround on the opponent's crossbows. Knights are +1/+2 versus +1/+2 knights here as well. And it seems like Wisepii and Neromelnick are running out of juice here, because the crossbows are getting forced back, and there is still 34 crossbows from Dracken in here. He's playing a 1 TC build, faster working Briton ranges, he's just flooding crossbows. That's the entire concept, and now he destroyed an archer range from his opponent, so he is up against just 2 ranges here. And look at this, the immediate reaction is 3 more. 3 more ranges coming in here for Wisepii. We're gonna have an attempted loop around here by Dracken. He's got ballistics, so he's gonna pick off a couple of Voyagers on that wood line. And for now, Wisepii is just gonna have to slow this one down as much as possible, because he needs to regroup. He's 24 crosses against 55. Holy smokes. Dracken is actually flooding crossbows here like a madman. Look at all those crossbows just marching through the map. Knights will try to do a counterattack over here, and this might actually get somewhere, but other than that, I feel like now there's a massive lead for Drakken's team, and they're using Byzantines really well, or Britons over here really well, so you delay your eco build-up, and you just go for a very Castle Age heavy play here. That's the first real good counterattack here by Neromelnick, though. It actually ends up being extremely good. All of these Voyagers going down for Dracken is definitely gonna hurt. He's down to 44 Voyagers, and one thing that we have to consider is that Wisepii's team still has way more Voyagers. The problem now is that Knights will jump on those Voyagers on the wood line. It is 29 crossbows against currently 32 here. Defense upgrade-wise, Dracken is now having +2 as well. But there is more crossbows coming from this direction, so this is still tricky for Wisepii, who is having a lot of idle time as well on his Voyagers. A little bit struggling for gold, so he's unable to really get great archer numbers on the field. Now the Knights are diving in. He will pick up the Knights, and then he will actually try to fight the crossbows, but it's 16 crossbows against 22, and the idle time is crazy. That being said, disaster strikes Dracken as well, because he apparently overchopped his wood line, and now the Knights will flood into his base. Dracken, he's got an insane army, but I mean, there is more holes on his walls than Swiss cheese. Holy smokes, like, come on, man. His base was full of holes, and he's gonna go down to like 10-15 Voyagers. And it doesn't matter that Wisepii has the idle time. At the end of the day, Wisepii is at least 67 Voyagers, so he will slowly recover from this one. But what is Dracken going to do? Dracken is down to 25 Voyagers. Like, legit, he's going defeated right now. He's gonna have 15 wheels inside that TC, and that's all. And yeah, he still has the archers here, but now it's only 26 archers. Just as much as there was some holes on Drakken's walls, now Neromelnick is going to suffer from a counterattack. I believe that this was a palisade gate that was just broken through. And Neromelnick also needs to run his Voyagers, but at least he is still 72 Voyagers. He's gonna go down to something like 65 or 60 or so. But it's not as bad as Dracken, who is at 17 Voyagers. Oh my goodness, and the Knights are still inside his base. We also have some crossbows from Dracken picking off Voyagers from Wisepii, so this game is really chaotic here. Everybody losing Voyagers, but at the end of the day, look at the Voyager KD. Dracken lost 50 wheels, killed 14. Wisepii is suffering from a big push as well inside his base, so is Neromelnick, but Dracken is at 10 Voyagers. 10 Voyagers actually make it 9. That's nice times. 9 Voyagers for 32 minutes of gameplay. And Wisepii is super heavy on stone right now. He's got 21 Voyagers on stone, so he really wants to drop a defensive castle for the sake of just, you know, staying alive right now. These Knights are still doing damage, so Neromelnick is losing Voyagers as well. But if Neromelnick is able to stabilize, then this is gonna be very tough for Drakken's team. That being said, Yezris was completely untouched, and because of that, he could still maybe save the day, because an untouched cavalry player, especially one that has fully upgraded Paladin in comparison to Vietnamese that do not, could still save the day in Imperial. That's something to consider. Overall Voyager count is heavily in the favor of Wisepi's team though. Though Wisepii went down to 59 Voyagers, Dracken back up to 11. But fun fact, if these Knights just run to the TC or run over here, they can once again push down Dracken below 10. So it's gonna be a castle, I believe, from Wisepii in a couple of moments. The question is where do you drop that castle? I feel like you gotta start walling off the left side, maybe even stone walls, and then drop a castle, potentially. Right now you could actually drop a castle here on your gold mine. These are extremely important gold mines. 2 gold mines from Wisepii, and he's running out of gold at the back. So now crossbows break into Neromelnick's base, so as many Voyagers Dracken has lost, I have to say that he's doing an excellent job just using the crossbows that he has left. Dracken still being dead, not something that I'm really surprised about after all the damage that he has taken. He's 11 Voyagers. On the other side, these crossbows are still denying wood lines, so Neromelnick is under a bit of a pressure, but right now what Dracken needs to do is just sort of try and delay both players, and he's doing a beautiful job with that, to be honest. I swear if he wins from 10 Voyagers, that's gonna be crazy. Like, Dracken is not a factor anymore in this game. He's got 10 Voyagers. He still has 20 crossbows though, and those 20 crossbows are coming in clutch, so believe it or not, if you take a look at the Voyager KD, Dracken also killed 35 and Yezris killed 36. So if it wasn't for Neromelnick's raids inside Drakken's base, Drakken's team would have probably taken this game already, because Dracken is doing an excellent job picking off Voyagers, the crossbows. Now crossbows from Wisepii coming in to clean this one up. But look at this. Imperial Age from Yezris, the only untouched player, and that's extremely important, especially now that Wisepii brings his crossbows to the south. It will be a trade with Dracken. They will clean this up. But behind this one, there is once again Knights coming in here from Yezris, or the kept Rams. And what are you gonna do against, like, Cavalier or Paladin over here? You can try going for Halberdier, but you need some time to tech switch into those, and you will not have the Imperial Age upgrades for them. So, as dead as Dracken is with 8 Voyagers and 6 military, Dracken is at 14 population, his teammate is alive and well. This could be an amazing clickbait, by the way, for YouTube. If this is a win for Drakken's team. I gotta say, as the ranges are going down over here, so we're gonna have the range is down and Imperial Age almost in for Yezris. And when that happens, he's gonna have a lot of Cavalier. Dracken at 15 population. So he's really a non-factor in this game. He at least can sometimes pop out a Voyager. He's got 1 on food. And look at this man. He has 9 Vultures and he's making crossbows from all his resources. Because, guess what? Where are the Knights at? The Knights aren't here yet, and that means that kept rams, some moonwalking kept rams, are actually pushing up the base of Wisepii over here. Now the Knights arrive, so they should be able to clean this one up. But the next wave is what's gonna be really scary over here. I think Yezris should just save his cavalry and wait until his Imperial Age upgrades kick in. He shouldn't waste his Knights against the Knights of the opponent here. It's +1/+2 for our red player, +2/+2 for Yezris, as we have an attempted castle here by Wisepii to secure the gold. Remember that Wisepii is on timer because he doesn't really have gold income. And with that, Cavalier is on the way. No +4 defense just yet. But look at this. Once again, raids after raids after raids. There is still a 40 villagers lead for Wisepii's team, but they're losing way too many villagers in this one. And apparently the first round is delivering of entertaining games, because this one is at least entertaining. It's a weird and a wacky game, I totally give it that. But technically it is still possible that the Cuman Cavalier is going to bring you a victory. And remember that Wisepii needs some time to tech switch into Halberdiers. He's stonewalling himself up. I think that's the right thing to do. But Neromelnick's cavalry isn't going to be as good as Cuman cavalry in post-imp. The real question is, when can Dracken reboom? I think that Dracken should focus on rebooming right now, not making crossbows. A couple of crossbows don't change a lot. You wanna make sure that you can reboom here. Cavalier bumping into a gate over there. But that's quite a lot of Cavalier that will jump on the gold mine of the opponent. Also raid coming in here from Yezris. And now it's Cuman Cavalier with coinage coming in as well for Yezris. Still, villagers are going down left and right, and you see that Neromelnick is actually going for botkin. I wonder if that's for the TC only, or he actually wants to switch into archers now in Imperial. Because he's going up to Imperial. Wisepii is nowhere close to him, but that's quite a lot of knights. 22 knights against just 10 cavalier traps trying to take that castle down. Knights dive in, snipe the trap. That was a nice move there. The next trap is already coming in. The knights, or the cavalier, now have +2/+4, so they will actually clap the knights. But at this point, Neromelnick is just counting on the fact that he needs to slow down Yezris, basically, because they know they have the lead. Cavalier once again jumping on Neromelnick's gold mine, so there's a lot of idle time over here. The crazy thing here is that there is a 30 villagers lead only for Wisepii's team, despite the fact that Dracken is on 11 villas. By the way, Yezris is just like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna take this gold. My teammate doesn't need it. And oh no, Dracken feels bad, man. He's gonna go down to like 8 villagers once again. Oh, feels really bad. Now, that being said, Wisepii could be in trouble soon as well, because one thing he's not gonna have is gold. Like, he could go Halberdiers, but that, as I said, takes quite a lot of time to tech switch into. Neromelnick is in Imperial, but what is he gonna do with Imp? He's gonna go plate barding and Cavalry. But if Wisepii doesn't have an army on the field, Cuman Cavalry will just beat Vietnamese Cavalry. It's 19 Cavalier against 16 Knights only, and Wisepii is losing villagers left and right over here, just as much as his opponent did. So, for now, Dracken is at 11 villagers, still castle under fire. Imperial Age coming in here for Wisepii. I feel like if he reaches him, this should be their game, because he's gonna be able to switch into Halberdier at that time. Pikeman wouldn't be enough, Halberdier will be enough. So, 17 villagers lead only for Neromelnick's team. That's actually crazy, considering that one of the players has basically lost all his villagers. And look at these raids. There is some raiding coming in here from Neromelnick, but this is actually doing more damage here from Yezris, and Yezris is really playing well here. And if you can actually start killing the gold miners of Neromelnick like that, that's crazy. Apparently this castle was aborted, so Yezris is gonna have to dispatch some cavalry here to deal with this one. It's +1/+4 for those cavaliers, +4/+4 for these, And look at the left side as well. Now it's Cavalier pushing in. Yezris isn't paying attention, so he could very well lose his traps in this one. But the castle does go down. It is just 14 villagers lead now, though. So, with that, now it's a nice counterattack from Neromelnick. Yezris is gonna have to clean this one up, because now this is the first time in the game that Yezris actually suffers from raids. And if he actually gets pushed with raids, he's gonna be in big trouble, because so far he was building on his ability to remain completely untouched and just raid his way back into the game. That being said, the villager discrepancy is still just consistent, but now Yezris is dropping in villagers quite badly. Dracken is still not a factor, so this is all in Yezris' hands to save the day. He needs to clean this one up, but it's gonna be awfully hard, because the problem is that you have access to Paladin here, but that's not something that Yezris is able to afford. So if he was able to afford Paladin, he would clap the Cavalier, but that's not the case. 26 Cavalier against only 16, and many of them are pushing Wisepii. Wisepii is gonna get a couple of orbs on the field, which will be enough to delay this one. And it seems like now that Neromelnick is actually able to start raiding Yezris' eco, it's gonna be a cleanup here. This castle needs to go up. This castle needs to go up over here, as now it really seems over. Mainly because now there is raiding potential for Neromelnick. So the only win condition here for Yezris was that he keeps raiding the opponents and he doesn't lose his own eco, but now his eco starts falling apart. And suddenly they're facing 64-24 army. This was closer than what it should have been, to be honest. For a moment, it seemed like there is a chance for Yezris and Dracken. I feel like Dracken should have just gone rebooming. Like, he's still making crossbows with what for? Why are you making crossbows against Imperial Age units? Just make 4 TCs and try rebooming. It might not work, but your crossbows are not helping at all. As now the cavalries are going to intercept the traps. Yezris will soon pretty much fall apart here on the front line, I believe. Like, he's still doing some damage, but regardless of that, we're gonna have the Arbalests cleaning this one up. This is Yezris, by the way, taking the gold of his opponent over here. Dracken is setting up markets, so they want to actually come back into this game through trade, but overall population is 175 against 270. So it was a valiant effort from Yezris trying to 1v2 this, but it would have been a crazy game. In fact, it was already a crazy game, but it would have been an insane performance if he was able to win this game 1 versus 2. But at the end of the day, the raids to his eco slowly crippling his opponent. He's actually preparing another wave of cavalry, and truth being told, Neromelnick is only light cavs now, but now there is Arbs, and I feel like at this point you probably start going for hubs if you are Wisepii. You have the eco for that, and you're only up against cavalry, so hubs actually are legitimate in this case. So once again, a lot of idle time on Yezris' eco. His eco is very, very massive because it's getting pushed. So you already see that trade is being set up as well, indeed, by Wisepii's team, as they're stonewalling off the entire map for a trade. Dracken still 22 villagers, nice and comfy. And apparently his gold miners are also stuck because he quick-walled them in. Look at those gold miners. They also got stuck. So Light Cav now coming in for Yezris. They're really not giving up on this one, but I don't really know what they're hoping in anymore. It gets quite a lot of Cavalier, but your opponent still has more Cavalier than you do. You don't really have any trade going for you, and your teammate is dead. So there is a 1.3k score difference. If Dracken actually went for a full reboom, he might be up at like 50, 60 villagers, 70 maybe even by now, and that would help immensely. So I feel like Dracken still spamming crossbows does nothing. He should have just gone, try and reboom, and by now, I think he could have actually been to a reasonable villager count. And all of this, by the way, comes from that one hole. Actually, there wasn't really one hole, it was multiple holes, but this can actually be associated with the fact that Drakken's wall were just pretty much open everywhere, and he just got raided like crazy. So now Wisepii is down to like 150 population. Overall, their combined population is 190, whereas their opponents are getting close to being pop-capped. A forward castle by Neromelnick. And behind this one, the Knights, or now Cavalier from the Vietnamese, are cleaning this one up. It would be great for the Crewmans to have this situation with the Paladin, if they had Paladin, but they do not have Paladin right now because of lack of resources for Yezris, and that's gonna be a big flood of Cavalier once again running into the base of Wisepii. 95 army against 50. So with that, we're gonna have the cavalry coming in here. It is Yezris being raided here on the right side by Light Cav. There is a Cavalier denying this wood line, and at the end of the day, I feel like when this castle goes down, the entire south of Yezris is just wide open. You could make a case for just trying to get through these walls. These are not super strong either. So I think it's just a matter of time right now. Like, Dracken is up to 32 villagers, congratulations, but you have 0 trade going for you. Actually, there's 1 trade card. There's 1 trade card casually running around, but not much more, to be honest, for Wisepii's team. They got the markets, but no trade going for them. Big fight in the middle. That's, I think, the final push that Yezris is making. He doesn't really have more gold, I believe. Indeed, Yezris is off from gold. The Dracken finally calls it in a game where he went down to, I think, 8 villagers or so. Well played, GG's. And I have one more thing to show here. Courtesy of Nerfox, who spotted this. At 2440, apparently Yezris deleted the town center. It might be a hotkey issue, but we're actually gonna go back thanks to the wonders of Capture Age, if I can. Well, apparently we can't. No, we can't go back. Wait a second. If the recorded game ends, we can't go back? Or Capture Age just completely froze. I think Capture Age just completely froze. I killed Capture Age, ladies and gentlemen. So it looks like we're not going back over there. But with that, we'll just believe Nerfox. So with big games, it might take a while. Okay, and Brain, I get that. So I guess we're gonna skip that from that perspective. Oh, we're back. We're back. It only took half an hour. All right, what is this time? 2440 is what we're looking for. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see some slow motion of wonders. So let us observe Yezris. At this point, everything was alright. 93, 91 villager count. Dracken was still alive. And then, boom. What was he trying to delete? I have no idea. But indeed, this feels like an accidental TC deletion. So that was somewhat unfortunate. And he's like, okay, I don't need this TC. I'm just gonna rebuild it over here. Oh my. Okay, the real question is, did he actually tell this to Dracken? Because if he actually tells it to Dracken, Dracken is like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna open up my base, overchop it, and play 8 villagers. If you do this. But, so it wasn't just Dracken going full Titanic with those holes. Apparently, Yezris also took part of the disaster. So, with that, we are gonna jump into game number 2, which is gonna be on the home map of Dracken and Yezris. There is no arena in the map pool, but they didn't go for Regicide Fortress. So they have Team Acropolis and Team Islands working for them. So I would think Team Islands will be Portuguese or Italians working for them. Natsukutra could very well be Italians. It's actually a decent map for Italians. But we will go to Team Islands. And we will have Italians and the Japanese versus Koreans and Malay. So it is a fairly decent matchup, I would say. Indeed, Viking Global Ban makes sense because they're generally strong, they're good on team islands, they're good on rock slide, potentially with longboats, so the Vikings double ban actually does make quite a lot of sense here for both teams. With that, we'll jump into game number 2 over here, Dracken+Yezris versus Wisepii+Neromelnick. We are going to have Yezris playing in blue Japanese on the south. Green will be Dracken's Civilization over here. Right side will be Neromelnick in red as Malay. And in yellow, there will be Koreans for Wisepii. So these technically could result in a landing, but reality is that well, both of these civilizations could just play water as well. Now, here's the deal. The demos are inaccessible for our Korean player. So the Koreans won't really want to go for the water that much, or should potentially go straight galleys. Whereas Malay, they have a generally good islands play overall. Both of these could be used for landing either, to be honest, but I think if you land with Koreans. Dracken will be playing standard Italians over here in green, and Yezris will be playing Japanese. There is a chance that you are going to use the Japanese for landing, but there is no guarantees about that one. So with that being said, left side is our Czech team, and right side is going to be our Chilean team on the map. One thing that's worth noting on team islands compared to standard islands is that on standard islands you have 2 big patches of gold. On team islands you have 1 big patch and 2 smaller patches of gold. So it's very, very hard to deny all accessible gold from a certain player. Although in this case it's not necessarily impossible. All of these golds from Wisepii are on the left side, and the stones are both on the left as well. There's an extra stone here as well that he can take. Overall, there is quite a lot of neutral resources. So 3,000 gold per player on the island. This is a version of Team Islands where the extra resource spawning on one of the islands is actually fixed. So there was a bit of a drama about that last year, that on Team Islands, sometimes extra resources spawn on a certain island, and it only appears on one island, which means that one team actually has, or one player has a massive advantage from that. That's not the case over here. So with that, we're gonna have Deer Push coming in here for Neromelnick, front dock for our red and green players, side dock for Wisepii makes me wonder if this is a galley play, and sort of a back dock for Yezris. With Japanese, you have fishing ships that survive longer, so that's also sort of a factor when it comes to evaluating if you land or not, that you don't really need that much protection from them because, as I said, they survive a lot longer. This is going to be a nice little dock over here by the corner, so a lot of deep fish around. It's somewhat unlucky that this space is actually empty of deep fish, because once these run out, this dock is going to be somewhat inefficient. That being said, the same problem sort of persists for our yellow player. There is only 2 really good fish close to this dock for him. So it looks like it's 5 on wood from everybody. No one is actually doing anything wacky so far. We already have 6 villagers being added for Yezris, and that could be a clue towards a potential landing, because you would probably do 5 on wood, especially with Japanese that don't spend that much on the lumber camp. So adding 1 extra villager on wood could be a clue that he actually wants to go for some fort buildings. Fuelage will be coming in here from Dracken first, but obviously the Malay player can afford to pick up later. So it's not the end of the world right now for Neromelnick. What's interesting is that the 2 players are super close to each other when it comes to positioning. And that means that we are gonna have fire galleys from both sides coming in. Whoever gets the fuel age first is gonna have a nice little advantage over the opponent. So Dracken coming in here with Italians 1 minute away from feudal, and apparently Neromelnick is gonna go with 26 villagers even. 27, what is this? This is quite late. This is a fast castle actually. It's a front dock fast castle play. It's very unconventional. And now a transport. Now on 2v2 World Cup, in the grand finals, you and Lix did something like that. A fast castle landing with knights. They did that with Teutons because the Teuton knights also resist conversion, but it's a decent idea. Neromelnick is gonna go front dock landing, and you see that with melee. Actually, what am I talking about? His food isn't enough to click up. I confuse numbers a little bit. In that case, I don't really understand, because this food is way too much. This food feels way too much just for... what? It's a scout landing, sure, but this is very, very late for that. And your fishing eco is going to be directly exposed to fire galley aggression pretty soon. It seemed like it's actually a towers play. So Neromelnick actually goes for either scouts or towers. He didn't make a barracks back at home, so it's either barracks on the front. Let's see if Dracken spots this. Dracken does not see the transport, so he won't know that there is a landing coming in, but I would think it's a towers play from our red player. It looks like we have no landing from our blue player, but regardless of that, Wisepii is gonna vow himself around to make sure that there is no landing that could scare him. Third dock coming in over here, and that's a barracks with potentially scouts coming in because there's no villagers on gold. Regardless of that, the transport does sink to the bottom of the ocean, and that's the alarming sign for Dracken. He saw the transport, so he knows exactly there's a landing coming in here for him. Immediate loom coming in here for Yezris, and Yezris will be responsible for just defending on the island. We have seen a lot of this in 2v2 World Cup. You have one player that is designated to just defend the island. Still, there is sort of a head start for Neromelnick with that landing. We'll have scouts, and there should be spearmen as well from Yezris to sort of decide the scout wars. Fire galleys moving in from Dracken. So let's see. What we're gonna have is Neromelnick coming in here with apparently now a couple of archers because he's gonna get some villagers on gold. Scouts will be heading towards Yezris. Yezris is playing wide open still. They're trying to find the location of the landing, and Yezris actually is going for Castle Age already. That changes a lot of things. Now the galleys of Wisepii will actually find Dracken's or Yezris' fishing eco, so that is going to sink. But if he gets to Castle Age, it's a completely different defense, because he can just make a couple of knights and be good against basically anything that their opponents can bring in. So that fast castle, it wasn't really a fast castle, but at the end of the day, the early Castle Age for Yezris will allow him to go for Knight's defense, and that should be more than enough to defend against archers and scouts overall. Or you can transport Knights to the opponent's island if you feel like, okay, we are walled and that our opponent isn't going to push into our base, then you can definitely transport the Knights to the other side of the water as well. Neromelnick loses all water control and fishing ships. On the other side, Dracken is still playing fire galleys. So he's gonna have to tech into fire ship here to have any chance against those galleys right now. With that being said, the fishing eco, as I said, for Yezris is gone. Voyage count heavily in the favor of Wisepii's team, as we are gonna have the archers and spearmen coming in here pretty soon. Knights on the way for Yezris is expected to do defense here. The problem that Dracken's team is facing is that they have a bunch of fire galleys, but those won't work against that many galleys. His opponent is up to 14 galleys, and that's a massive, massive advantage when it comes to that. So, with that, we're gonna have towers coming in here for Neromelnick. Oh my goodness, the micro! The micro from Wisepii. He runs in to try and snap the fishing eco of the opponent, and he ends up doing so, so this might still be worth it. But come on, man. it is going to be your galleys getting annihilated with a good surround. Now Fire Galleys finding the back of Wisepi's fishing eco, but Wisepii has enough galleys here, so he's gonna be able to take this one down without any problems. And it is still 15 galleys over here. Apparently Neromelnick still wants to push in. He's probably waiting for the opportunity to drop a tower. Castle Age still not on the horizon for a Dracken, although he's thinking about it right now with those resources. Wisepii, massive market usage, going to be on the way towards Castle Age in a matter of moments. Now, there were some knights from Yezris, and apparently the Czech players are playing this one safe, so they were just sending the knights here to clean this one up. Nice move from the Neromelnick spamming Spearman. That's the exact thing that you should do here. If your opponent's not defending knights, spears are actually fairly decent against them. They're not amazing, but it's not going to make life easy for a player making knights, that there is quite a lot of spearmen on the field. That being said, now the knights dive in. They have just +1 defense, and guess what? Spearmen hold. So at the end of the day, these knights didn't really accomplish much. Even forging is coming in for Neromelnick, for the spearmen. Now there is more knights coming in though, and spearmen have kind of ran out. So if you want to fight it right now. And indeed, this might be an overextension from Neromelnick, because suddenly the villagers will be exposed to the knights. One more spearman pops out, and it looks like the archers will be traded off to the knights, or even just an even bigger disengagement over here. With that, Wisepii has a 1-minute lead into Castle Age. We are gonna get Wisepii with a push on the fishing eco for the Dracken. So Wisepi's team has a bit of a Voyager lead. They're also harassing Drakken's wood line over here. The fishing eco is just non-existent for either of the Czech players. And the real question is, what can Dracken do in Castle Age? Because he wants to go for fire ships, but doesn't really have the numbers, and his opponent is gonna be up soon for war galleys. Neromelnick is actually slowly climbing towards Castle Age. He doesn't have any fishing eco, he doesn't even have a dock right now. He could definitely rebuild the dock at the back right now that they're controlling water, but it looks like he doesn't really want to, as it looks like Wisepii is just chasing down the fishing eco of his opponent for now. So we're gonna have the galleys coming in on the other side as well. They will sandwich this fleet in between them. War Galley and the Botkin Arrow coming in right now. Dracken will soon know that there is no escape. Right now he's hoping that he can flee to the left, but reality is that that's not really gonna be the case. And you also have to consider that when Neromelnick clicks up, he is gonna be the last player to Castle Age. But when that happens, he's gonna reach Castle Age very fast thanks to melee. And he's gonna have a lot of crossbows with potentially pikemen as well on the field. I love that he keeps adding spearmen. That's a very underrated thing to do right now. And it seems like Dracken wasn't prepared for this one. And oh my goodness, deja vu feeling here for Dracken over here as he starts losing villagers big time. And look at those villagers marching into his base. And I guess that's where a siege workshop could potentially come in once our red player reaches Castle Age. There is gonna be knights, but 4 knights against 7 spearmen, and that's an even bigger disaster. Just before War Galley would hit, just before careening would hit, the entire fleet of Dracken gets destroyed. Absolute disaster. And with that, villager count is still just now getting even, because there were 2 TCs for Yezris the whole time. Now it's free, and the thing is that once again this might be the carry Yezris type of a game, because Dracken is down to 33 villagers. He has lost his fleet, at least the majority of it. He's trying to get some more fire ships out, but 7 fire ships against 28 war galleys, that's not gonna work well. Mangano comes out though, lands a nice connection, and that's the first step, so to say, for Yezris to carry his teammate back to victory. And that's a nice fight as well for Yezris, cleaning up the spearman with the help of the DC. As good as the fight was before for Neromelnick, this was a disaster. He's gonna lose 4 villagers here, he's gonna lose all his archers. And at the end of the day, Dracken is at 36 villagers. His opponent, when he reaches field age, is gonna be something like, what, 40 still? So Dracken can actually be completely even to Neromelnick when he reaches Castle Age, which is admirable. Especially after all the damage that the Dracken has taken. Still, we're gonna have fire ships here trying to intercept reinforcements and go for fishing eco, but it's still a massive fleet advantage. It's 44 army against 18, but Neromelnick does have a foothold on the opponent's island, which is not something that should be underestimated. Random spearman poking down Mangonel should not be successful once a knight arrives. So, fire ships slowly taking down the fishing eco of the opponent. War galleys will just deny these docks, so these docks will probably go down as well from Dracken, and there's just nowhere to go from this position, I would say. With that, we're gonna have these fire ships getting cleaned up. These guys won't do much either. I think Wisepii will just wait for war galleys. Like, he's gonna have 8 or 9, he pops them out and he takes those down. There is the elephants, and we could still see crossbowmen from Neromelnick, who is now pushing towards Yezris' base. And one thing that we shouldn't underestimate is that as long as they have a foothold on the opponent's island, this is still scary for Dracken and Yezris. Especially considering that the water control isn't really in the favor of the Czechs either. In fact, the dogs going down over here, then the fleet going down over here. It's 53 army against 11. Drakken's team is having an insane eco lead now, though. So, one thing that you have to consider is a potential redocking into an Imperial Age. Crossbow just now coming in. Knights will intercept this army, and they will actually take a fairly reasonable engagement. Even a monk joins the party to try and convert the crossbowman, and he won't, I believe. The monk was meant to be able to convert elephants, though. Still, this is a cleanup, as the crossbows just die to the knights over here. Other sides, we do have some war galleys which are able to harass villagers on the shoreline. That's a very, very nice thing to do. So you can harass these TCs over here, including this gold mine. There is gonna be docks going down over here, so neither of the Czech players has any water control, and the real question is if they can actually turn this eco lead into something that's useful in Imperial, because they have a massive eco lead, but their island still is suffering from the landing of Neromelnick, and on the water they're unable to control anything. In fact, as you see, docks are going down in quick succession, and they're nowhere close to Imperial, so it's not like Dracken is gonna be an imp in 2 minutes and just goes for fast fires. So with that, beautiful splitting up of the war galleys here for Wisepii to make sure that his opponent isn't actually able to take this gold very, very safely. And now the docks once again will go down. Crossbows from the Neromelnick. This is looking extremely good for the Chileans, despite the fact that their opponents have a 30 villagers lead. But still, at the end of the day, as a fire ship is actually going to take down one of the galleons here at the back. But the idea is that at the end of the day, that 61 army against 10 is a massive lead, and really, without water control islands, you will struggle badly, because you will get your eco on the sides pushed really hard. So, especially this side is what is problematic. The other side is, it works well, but this side is just not looking great, to be honest. So, with that, we're gonna have the knights slowly cleaning up these buildings over here. The market being exposed actually is annoying for Dracken, because he wants to balance out his eco in the future potentially. It looks like now Yezris is the one that is willing to go up into Imperial, and if Yezris does that, you are gonna go for a redocking with a castle, I believe. Indeed, he's 8 on stone, so that shouldn't really be a big problem for him. What is a big problem, though, is that now the elephants are actually starting to have an effect on the game, and even though there is some knights helping out, with the crossbow support, with the war galley support, this push is still fairly strong from Neromelnick, and if you count in the fact that these two TCs can also be denied by war galleys, at the end of the day, it seems like it is a fairly significant lead for Wisepii and Neromelnick, mainly because Dracken once again could go dead. There is the castle for the redocking attempt though, and it also pretty much cripples this landing, so that's actually a very, very nice force castle build from Yezris. His opponent wasn't really there to stop it, and with that, that castle goes up. Imperial Age coming in here for Yezris, but once again, he's the one that has to do the carrying here. Dracken isn't really in a bad spot, he's at 70 Voyagers, it's a matter of his eco is seriously open for raiding. You see crossbows will be heading over here, picking off some Voyagers on the wood line. Vorgel is denying this gold mine, harassing the farmers, and it's wood control right now. Look at this, crossbows on this wood line, crossbows trying to deny these wood lines as well, and really, with the Vorgel denying these wood lines, it's gonna be extremely tough for Dracken to get any kind of wood income. There comes the knights. It's actually very, very good upgrades on them. So you will try to bring your crossbows to the range of the Vorgallies. The elephants will tank a lot of damage, and then you're just gonna bring in those crossbows here so you can take down at least a couple of knights with these, and you will. Imperial Age coming in as well for Wisepii's Koreans, so Galleons is not gonna be a distant dream for him. Redocking just now coming in from Yezris, and as things stand, this is just gonna be an even trade, but Yezris is doing an excellent job right now, so it is gonna be docks actually from Dracken. Why is it Dracken redocking? Why is it Dracken? He wants to go for fire ships, I understand that. We're gonna have War Galleon Botkim for Yezris, so Yezris actually wants to go Galleon. Look at how well Wisepii is splitting his War Galleys to control the shoreline and prevent redocking. It's actually very, very nicely done. So Dracken wants to go for fire ships, I understand that, but here you need fast fires. Still, quite a lot of knights from Yezris, and if you can secure some minor water control for yourself, and you transport those 5, 10, 15 knights to the opponent's island, then suddenly a lot of chaos could be caused over there. Wisepii going for careening as well, and we're gonna have Neromelnick clicking up to Imperial soon, so will Dracken, so everybody getting close to clicking into Imp here. So with that, we're gonna have that's actually once again a force built castle over here by Yezris, but I think it goes up. It's gonna cost a couple of Voyagers, which is far from ideal. Coinage coming in for Yezris, so he's gonna send some resources to Dracken probably for fast fires. And the castle does go up, securing these wood lines over here. Extremely important, I would say, for Dracken and Yezris. Relics being collected now as well by Yezris, bringing them all the way home. And Imperial Age on the way as well for Dracken, so if he gets there and gets fast fires, it's gonna be a massive lead. Neromelnick is also up to Imperial, but what is he going to do? He's gonna go for War Galley right now, probably fire ships for himself as well. And he's gonna beat Dracken to Imperial quite nicely. It's a cleanup on the Czechs island, which means that now they have a pure 30 Voyagers lead, with the opponent having little chance to contest their eco. But at the end of the day, the Galleons will slowly take down the docks, and the fleet numbers are still more convincing for Wisepii. So it's a matter of how many fast fires you can get out as Dracken and how many fast fires you can get out as Neromelnick. Right now, it seems like Drakken's fire numbers are more convincing, 15 to only 2. And Galleon numbers also aren't really... Well, they are amazing. 52 Galleons is amazing, but the bigger problem is that you gotta group your War Galleys up, otherwise they just won't be able to do much against these soon-to-be fast fires. Still, fast fires are coming in as well for Neromelnick, and those are gonna be much faster than the ones from Dracken. So Dracken still needs 30 more seconds until he gets up to Castle Age or Imperial, and even after, he's gonna need some time until he's able to go for the ships. It looks like we're gonna have some keeps coming in here from Wisepii, utilizing the bonus of Koreans. Fast fire is already out for Neromelnick, and it looks like Wisepii isn't really contesting those docks over there on the left side, even though he sees them. He wants to go for cannon galleon and arrow slits, so he starts to go for towers. Cavalier on the way for Yezris, so this might be the moment where he's thinking about maybe landing with the Cavalier. Indeed, here's the transport, but getting to the opponent's island is gonna be awfully hard. I like these two towers over here controlling this choke point. It's actually a very, very good tower, especially if you get Upsong, which would give them some extra range over there. 12 Galleons now against 60. Fast fire numbers also increasing for both players. But at this very moment, I feel like Neromelnick has the advantage in that aspect as well. So, for now, it seems somewhat unlikely that the Czechs come back on water, although this is a very, very nice engagement. Fast fires and the galleons together jumping on Wisepii+'s fleet here, and this is the time when he's actually planning to go with a cavalier. Then cavalier on the opponent's island could cause insane chaos. Like, what does Neromelnick have even to defend his island? Nothing. Absolute nothing. If that landing is succeeding, it's gonna be insanely hard for Wisepii and Neromelnick to protect their eco. Apparently there is one more random elephant on this island that has been killing villagers for quite a while now, because these buildings have been destroyed long time ago. The castle goes down, cannon galleons, forcing that down. And you could actually bring in the cannon galleons to try and fight this one. Here's the big fight. You got careening on both sides, so these galleons are pretty much even, but the numbers are massively favoring Wisepii over here. The elephant is still doing work here, so this actually is value for that elephant. There is Upsong, which is going to increase the range of those towers, making them really dangerous. Look at this. Look at this for those towers. Is it supposed to be 8+7, by the way? Where's the transport at? I want to see the transport. Everybody's screaming transport. Did I miss something? The transport is gone. The transport is gone, apparently. So, with that, still, if you look at the numbers, 27 fast fires against 11, 30 galleons now for Yezris, but he's up against 60. So, it's gonna be guard towers as well, and Japanese have Yasama towers, but that doesn't change the fact that the cannon galleons will actually take it down, and with that, if this fight isn't a victory for Yezris, he's going to start losing the castle and the docks, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna be a win. Cannon galleons, these are elite now, and once again, Dracken is trying to come back on water, but he's losing docks faster than he can rebuild them, and also the buildings being taken down is sort of annoying. And this elephant is actually really value. I mean, I'm not sure how many villagers this killed, but this has been killing villagers here for 5 minutes. Now coinage coming in here for Neromelnick as well. Kataparuto for Yezris. What's the idea with that? I think he misclicked the upgrade. Kataparuto buffs your traps. And what you want here is Yasama for your towers. You don't have a single trap here. You don't have a single trap here. That was a misclick, and Kataparuto is a very expensive technology. You certainly want Yasama for your towers and not Kataparuto. With that, now there is a couple of demos as well for Neromelnick, landing some reasonable connections. 32 fast fires against still 12, so the ship numbers are great, and Neromelnick is burning down the market so that he prevents the opponent's trade in this one. Can you check a single unit kill in this version of Capture Age? Not really. Well, not. The answer is nope. That is just an old Capture Age feature. It's 34 galleons against 66. Heated shot coming in here with Neromelnick as well. So, more docks coming in. By the way, he could go for Teslocracy and he would get harbors. And harbors would actually start making sense very soon because they would be extremely hard to destroy. And the elephant is still here. This elephant is the hero of the game. And it killed quite a lot of villagers. It might not seem like a significant thing, but when you lose 10 villagers to a unit that shouldn't even be there, that's a massive, massive problem. Now there is a couple of demos as well from Dracken. So both players trying to get some good demo connections in. Neither of them switching to galleons right now. On the north we do have a massive war fight, and now we have a ram push here from Yezris on the towers that were just dropped by Wisepii, who is going for, as I said, he already has heated shot and he has Upsong, so he's got the range advantage as well over here with these. Galleons 61 against 28, and the tower is shooting, I believe, although it's shooting the villagers. Oh, the villagers all died, by the way, but those towers don't have Yasama. They have Kataparuto, but that doesn't actually affect towers. Over here, still fast fire wars, 24 against 14, so still Dracken is holding on with his numbers, but soon, especially if Wisepii sent a couple of galleons here, that could be increasingly difficult to hold. Cannon galleons trying to stop the rams. Now Kataparuto is going to be useful, so that trap firing faster is going to be insanely helpful in this scenario. We're gonna have a couple more demos connecting in here. So with that, Cannon Galleons are actually trying to take down the Rams here, as I think the towers will go down. 40 Galleons against 76 here, still. So the Galleon numbers are way better for Wisepii. So are the fire ship numbers over here, 24 against 24 though. Dracken is slowly coming back on water. Dracken is slowly beating his opponent, Neromelnick here. So even though this elephant is really the most useful elephant in the planet, now Dracken is actually taking over water, I would say. Huge demo hits coming in here from Neromelnick though to even things out, and he goes for full demos. And these are not heavy demos, but they still pack a punch. And you see that they just absolutely leveled that fleet over there. On the other side, we have towers once again, as Wisepii is trying to crawl onto that castle. That's the target, because he wants to take that castle down. All the docks at the back coming in, spamming ships, fire ships. Coming in from the Neromelnick. The elephant is still here, in case you want an update. Now it's keep as well for Yezris to keep those ships away. And the Rams soak up a lot of arrow fire, so that helps a little bit for Yezris, who's at 41 ships. He's up against 70 ships almost though. So yeah, he's trying his best to take this fight, but it's just impossible. And the Upsong towers also help a lot, taking down these ships on the shoreline, whereas there is no more towers anymore for Yezris. Cannon Galleons taking down some siege workshops to slow down the flow of Rams. And you also have to consider that now there's Galleons from Neromelnick, so he's gonna start denying gold income here, harassing the trade. There is some trade being established by the Chileans, so are from the Czechs, and I think this might be the moment that Wisepii has been waiting for, to try and commit against that castle and try to finish it off. If you take that castle down, this feels like a game that's won by them. And right now, you see that Dracken is splitting up his ships now to make sure that demos don't land that big connections, but these are still acceptable connections at the end of the day. And Dracken is trying to redock over here now. And indeed, here come the Cannon Galleons on the castle. This is an extremely important fight for Wisepii. 78 Galleons against 43. Yes, this is trying to hold, but if that castle goes down, there will be no defense for these docks whatsoever. Now it's Rams coming in as well for Wisepii, and it is still an awful lot of Galleons here. Yezris is losing numbers way too fast here. He's also out of wood, by the way. Yezris has been consuming wood over here, and this elephant is still killing villagers. This elephant is still killing villagers, and that elephant probably killed like 30 villagers. We won't have an accurate picture here, because some of that was archers whatsoever, but I think it's telling that Dracken lost 60 villagers in this game. And yes, it's also lost 38. But I'm fairly certain Dracken didn't lose 60 villagers to just the archer's aggression in the middle of the game. I think this elephant has been contributing very heavily to that. And really, that's a crazy amount of villagers killed when you actually account for the fact that you need consistent wood income to produce ships at. So now it's towers once again coming in with Upsong, another castle attempted, but now Yezris will have the trade exposed. And really, now this elephant actually decides to chase trade, which is not necessarily the best use, but I mean, this is the hero elephant. It's not the thing that won the game, but it actually contributed really heavily, because minus 20 villagers on the wood line does matter. If you think about that, 20 villagers lost for nothing is 1,000 food that you could use for something else, like selling it for gold, for example. And that's not something that you did. Now Rampush coming in here to soak up the arrow fire, but once it's 81 galleys versus only 24 here. And now it's gonna be a counterattack on the left side. It's a couple of galleons from Yezris, but it looks like Neromelnick goes for 4 galleons now, which means that those fast fares will no longer be efficient from Dracken. Dracken's at 16 ships right now. There is also a couple of demos fighting against this one, and the Dracken taps out, saying GG, well played. Wisepii's team secures game number 2. They had a firm lead over this game for a while, but they actually played pretty flawless, and I just want to give a quick shout out to the hero elephant of the game, that is... Wait. Oh, here he is. Just casually killing villagers right next to the opponent's TC. I don't know how much or how many villagers, this hero elephant killed. But this guy has been killing villagers here on the wood line for 20 minutes. So yeah, that is actually a crazy value for that cheap melee elephant. With that, we'll jump back into the next game. And we are gonna have 2 games in a row for Wisepii+Neromelnick. So we will go to the other home map of Dracken+Yezris, which is going to be Team Acropolis. So what do you think about Team Acropolis? This is the time where you probably want to use Lithuanians, because of the relics that spawn on your hill. You should have no trouble with guaranteed 2 relics over here. And maybe a civ like Spanish for early aggression, Turks for light cavalry could work, or potentially even Goths is something I can actually understand. Other side, feels like it could be a Saracen forward potentially, maybe Byzantines. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell from this one. But anyways, we'll jump into the next game over here. So game number 3 coming up. Dracken+Yezris 1 game away from getting eliminated here by a Chile B. Team Acropolis is going to be the map, and we'll have a Spanish and Lithuanians versus Bulgarians and Chinese matchup over here. So we'll jump into game number 3. So it's North versus South on Team Acropolis. We're gonna have Dracken with Spanish in green. On the north, it's gonna be a Yezris in blue. To the south, it's Wisepii in yellow Chinese. And to the left of him is gonna be Bulgarians for Neromelnick. So we're gonna have Chinese being used as an archer civ in this case. And Bulgarians will be your cavalry civ for the day. On the north, as I said, Lithuanians is no surprise. You spawn with 2 relics very close to you. So it is absolutely viable to just go for the relic collection. Obviously, that's going to be your cavalry civilization and your archer civ, especially if capture age doesn't freeze. Dead? Rip. Rip capture age. Well, that happened. So, oops, we're back. Everything fine. Everything fine. So, no worries about that. We will continue as if nothing happened, alright? So, here's the deal. Spanish archer civilization isn't really going to be a thing that works out well, which means that Spanish will have to play conquistadors. This is tricky, because, like, Lithuanians has to be your cavalry civ, otherwise, you won't really be able to benefit from the relics, right? But if if Lithuanians is your cavalry civ, then the Spanish has to be conquistador play. Alternative is that your cavalry civ will be Spanish, but in that case, Lithuanians have to play with their cav archers. That could be reasonable, but I feel like the plan here for now, for Dracken+Yezris, is that you have a fast castle conquistador play, and Yezris might actually play scouts into eco and then knights and relics, and instead of having archers, you will just have conquistadors working for you. Could Lithuanians do hub and siege as well? They can, but they don't have siege ram, and you don't want to do that because their halberdiers aren't special. You need a castle for tower shields, otherwise they are missing armor. And like the main concept of Lithuanians being the cavalry civ is the fact that they benefit from relics very, very heavily over here. So with that, there's nice wood at the back. You could see Neromelnick signaling the presence of that to his teammates. So on the north, we'll have Wisepii going for some early walls over here. Dracken and Yezris also slowly walling themselves up. They also have woodland at the back, so the map seems fairly balanced from that perspective. And we're gonna have the second boar coming in for Yezris. So this map does have some extra boars if you're willing to go out and take them. It's a little bit risky, but it does carry a massive benefit if you're successful bringing those in. So, Neromelnick pushing in the deer from one side, and we are gonna have Dracken and Yezris almost fully walled. That's some very, very nice moves from them already. So both of them might be going for a fast castle. In fact, villager number 4 on wood was just added by Dracken, but I think that one of the villagers from the wood is actually walling, so this is definitely an FC from him with all those villagers queued up. And for Yezris, he actually wants to play scouts on this map over here. Nilly, thank you so much for a raid. And we will see Nilly and Jordan in the second round on Saturday or Sunday. The schedule for those days isn't set, but we will see the third team from Gamer Legion. The top 8 teams in the qualifiers only have to play one round. So with that, we're gonna have almost full walls for Wisepii and Neromelnick. Same for Dracken and Yezris. So I'm not sure how much the scouts of Yezris will actually be able to influence the game. So it should really be a very, very minor effect. One thing that you could actually do... Nilly. Thank you so much for the resub, Nilly. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, full walls. So most likely what you're gonna see from Yezris is making a couple of scouts, but he's gonna end up booming into Castle Age with his feudal eco. So don't be surprised to see eco-heavy approach here. Bidax coming in with no wood that's satisfactory for Horse Color. I'm somewhat unsure why he's going for scouts here, because from what I have seen, especially in 2v2 World Cup, this map usually ends up being fully walled by the players. As much as map scripters want this map to be an open map with all these small wood lines, players always find a way to wall this map. That being said, that's probably one of the more ugly barracks positions that I have seen in my life. Completely at the back of your base. It is going to be a scouts play, I believe, from Neromelnick, so it isn't really important from the perspective of making units right now, but definitely not the ideal spot for a barracks, and you have to finish those walls, otherwise the early scouts from Yezris could actually cause some chaos. Now, that is not a stable spot I approve. Let's just say that this is far from ideal. Luckily, at least the scouts don't take forever to get from here to the front line, but one of the early rules of placing buildings is that you place your production buildings towards your opponent, because you don't want your units to spawn at the back of your base, you want to spawn them on the front where the fighting is happening. So, with that, we're gonna have a couple of scouts coming in here for Yezris, finishing off the walls just now slow and steady. And from Dracken, it seems like it's gonna be good old-fashioned Conquistador play. So, nothing special about that. Why is there an exclamation mark sometimes above wheels? That actually signals idle wheels. So, it makes it easier to notice. I usually use it for playing only, but I think it looks nice when it comes to casting, because that tells you if a villager is actually idle. Like you see, all these idols, they have an exclamation mark. So, with that, Dracken indeed is open, that's a good point. He sees it, but apparently doesn't really care. So, not necessarily ideal. There is walls on the right, more or less. Yezris is still not finished. It's interesting that they started walling super early, but they still aren't finished with their walls. Luckily for them, Neromelnick doesn't have any scouts on the field, so they're not actually going to run inside the opponent's base whatsoever. Scouts will do some poking and probing, and eventually Neromelnick might just cancel these scouts over here. We'll have some heavy micro over here with the hills. But Castle Age coming in for Wisepii with Chinese, so it is for Dracken. Wisepii will most likely be playing with crossbows, but an eco-heavy approach. So for now, it's an even trade of cavalry. And on the north, Dracken opponent doesn't care about this hole, or maybe he thinks it's logged. That's the only thing I can imagine, but it is clearly visible it's open. It's hard to spot it if you're not specifically looking at that place though, but it is obviously going to be a problem in the future. So, with that, we're gonna have the scouts coming in from Neromelnick to clean up the aggression of the opponent. Didn't really accomplish much with this one. This is good in order to make sure that you're not getting pushed by archers and scouts. That's definitely beneficial from that perspective. But other than that, these scouts plays are more about security rather than actual aggression. They should not be able to get into the opponent's base, given that the opponent is fully walled, obviously. So Castle Age is in for Dracken. He drops the defensive castle over here on this hill. So he's gonna have Conquistadors coming in soon, able to squeeze in Boso as well. Yezris on the other side, he is looking pretty decent in terms of resources. Neromelnick, not so much. His resources are not looking that amazing with Bulgarians here. Everybody does have all the feudal age eco upgrades on mill and lumber camp, but we do not have wheelbarrow for Wisepii or Dracken for now. So there is gonna be archers and crossbows more likely for Wisepii in this one, and I would think that he's just gonna keep adding TCs. He wants to wait until he gets a couple of more archers and then potentially go for a TC somewhere down here so that he secures some more wood for himself. So with that, Neromelnick scouts are now lurking around the base of Yezris. There might be an overchop here, we'll see. This hole is still open, so that could be a possibility for some scouts to run inside, but even if they do, there is going to be Conquistadors defending, so it's not the end of the world by any means. With that, we are going to have Yezris still running around with the scouts. He didn't find this wood line, I believe, or if he found it, he isn't able to push it. No, he didn't find the wood line, so he isn't able to actually push it over there, even though it's walled in, so it probably wouldn't really matter that much at all. So, with that, the scouts now are looking for an opportunity over here, I believe. Apparently, Yezris is going to overchop that because he isn't really paying attention. He marks his second TC on the minimap, so he shows his teammate, hey, my opponent is actually doing a 2 TC play now. The crossbows also started moving out, and that's where things could get scary. For Dracken and Yezris, there is going to be double stable knights now from Yezris, also going for the monastery for the relic collection. In the meanwhile, we have one TC play still from Neromelnick on the way towards Castle Age he is, so he's gonna start opening with knights as well. And the scouts waiting for the opportunity over here, but they can't get in just yet. So the Conquistadors for now will be cleaning this up, no problems on that front. So second TC coming in here for Dracken. In this one, he is playing with Conquistadors for now, while his teammate is just going for a monastery first to start picking up relics. These scouts will be a little bit annoying because they will try to pick off the monks that are coming forward for the relics, and there's also quite a lot of crossbows coming in from this direction as well. So for now, the crossbows will actually... Oh boy. Oh boy. The crossbows will actually find the villagers. The crossbows will actually find the villagers, and that's a disaster for Yezris. -2, -3 most likely over here. That is definitely far from ideal. He's gonna have the knights around, or at least he hopes he has the knights around, but he's gonna lose the monk most likely to the crossbows. And the conks are coming back to clean this one up, but I mean, this is great value over there for our yellow player. And this is why you don't make stables at the back of your base. Look at all the time it takes for these knights to walk all the way around. So you actually delay your push quite heavily because of this. And it hurts so much right now for Wisepii+Neromelnick, because he doesn't have a meat shield in front of his army. That's the big deal here. No meat shield in front of the army, and that means that all those crossbows will get cleaned up. So at the end of the day, they killed a couple of villagers, but you lost the majority of that army. And at the end of the day, that actually hurts you really badly. That being said, we'll have Wisepii with a villager lead for his team. There is going to be a University for Ballistics coming in the foreseeable future. 2 TCs for Neromelnick with Bulgarians, making TC number 3 over here on the hill. So Conquistador is now coming in, but what will Conquistadors do once there is a reasonable amount of crossbows or arbalasts on the field? Because that's the main question right now. There is going to be a market for a Wisepii with crossbows coming in from 3 ranges now, +2 defense in for a Yezris for his knights. He did start picking the relic up, but he didn't finish it. He's just bringing in relic number 1. We'll have a sneaky TC on the right side here by Wisepii on the woodland. That's his 3rd town center right now. I still hate the positioning of this stable. I can legitimately imagine Neromelnick just thinking that this is the front of his base and this is where the opponents are, this way. He might have confused directions. Sometimes it happens because you just look at Acropolis, you play like this and you're like, oh yeah, they're south. But reality is that they're on the north. So that hurt really badly for them. Anyways, with that, now the knights will actually try to bash their way inside. There's one villager getting picked off. Siege Workshop wall with crossbows should be able to hold this one. And now the knights are coming in from Neromelnick. There is a heavy commitment from Yezris on stone, which might have been just a misclick, or so to say, villagers automatically moving for stone when they finish that TC. But if he goes heavy on stone, that could be a sign that he wants early Latis for himself. Nice crossbow defense over here from Wisepii, and they can just sort of afford to sit back and play a little bit more defensive. They do have a 17 villagers lead, although you don't want to give the possible relics to Lithuanians, because that's relic number 2 for the Lithuanian player, which is going to cause a lot of headache for them in the future. Conquistadors trying to poke and probe, find some villagers to kill. There will be TC number 3 already up for Neromelnick. And apparently Dracken wants this series to continue into game number 4, because now that is an aggressive castle, ladies and gentlemen. We will have Neromelnick with the knights, might actually find an opening here. There's an overchop for Dracken. Overchop noises intensify as we had such a disaster for Dracken in game number 1. No reaction, no reaction, no reaction, and oh my goodness. And Dracken is going to start losing villagers here big time. He's not going to lose an awful lot, I would think. By that I mean he isn't going to lose 50, he's going to lose like 20. But still, that's a disaster. There is the forward castle drop coming in here from him though, trying to secure that position. But you gotta consider, if that those crossbows break out, it is 36 crossbows. So they could legitimately take this fight. So now it is a couple of knights coming in here from Yezris trying to clean this up. Conquistadors turn back to take this fight. Dracken is still 65 villagers, so it's not as bad as it was in game number 1. Conquistadors also finding a couple of villager kills on Neromelnick's eco. But here comes the castle tempted. This is not something that Wisepii sees right now, but as I said, you can get that castle up over there. I think he underestimated Wisepii's archer numbers, and now he's up against like 40 crossbows. In this one, with the hill advantage, Dracken is gonna have to bail out on that attempt. Neromelnick actually shows this hole to Dracken and Yezris in case they haven't seen that already. And we will have a defensive castle on the left side by Neromelnick, securing that gold mine for himself. Conquistadors are still being annoying, but it's not the end of the world right now. Yezris loops around with the knights, and it looks like we'll have a castle soon from Wisepii for Chuko News, and I think Dracken wanted a castle drop on this TC. That's not gonna happen either. So he's really, really looking for a place to castle drop. But there is none. There is not a single place on this map where you can actually do a castle drop. So, with that, knights are trying to poke and probe. These 2-3s actually lock this crossing, so this is not open over here. And so far, the defense has been really nice from Wisepii and Neromelnick. The knights trying to find some value. They might actually hit this wood line, which would be a jackpot. But still, knights will eventually... they will find a couple of villager kills, that's for sure. So you see that Neromelnick is just going to run back to his base because he knows that he can't fit this many villagers in DC. So he's gonna lose quite a lot actually. So there goes all their villager lead. Yezris once again with an excellent counterattack. These knights mean business. They have 10+3 with +2 defense. There's a castle up for Wisepii. It's an extremely important castle. Dracken, I don't think that castle's gonna go up, but it's a valiant effort to try and build that. He will soon see that it's not going up once he sees the castle over there, and he will just bail out on that. His teammate already sees the castle, but he hasn't pinged it just yet. Knights now coming in for a red player. Only +1/+1 though versus +3/+2. So these knights won't really be amazing as the blue knights over here. But currently, Dracken isn't really able to do much with his conquistadors. We'll try another castle here as he's up against 55 crossbows. Imperial Age on the way for Wisepii as well. Villager count is still very close. Dracken is getting close to imping, but elite conquistadors won't do much though for you against that many arbalests. That's the problem. That conquistadors are nice, as Wisepii is trying to move out right now. Dracken once again cancelling that castle. You can tell that Dracken wants a castle drop, but he just has no idea where to put it. He wanted to castle drop his opponent like 5 times, and they will commit to this one. Now that's a lot of knights with very, very good upgrades, but they're up against an awful lot of crossbows. So you can even use some of your villagers sort of just to block the movement of the knights, and now the knights come from the back, and that is not gonna work out. That's not gonna work out because the knight numbers are dropping for Yezris, and the crossbow numbers are still insanely high. 40 crossbows, it's 60 army against 26, and this might be the end of the story for Dracken and Yezris in this one, as we will most likely have Wisepii and Neromelnick cleaning this one up and potentially 3-0ing their way into the next round. So Imperial Age on the way for Dracken, but he's down to 6 conquistadors with 8 in queue. And the problem is that you already have an Imperial Age player here for Wisepii. He's going to start making Arbalest. And on the other hand, Neromelnick is getting close, but he's not there just yet. With him, these knights are still here, being annoying, and at the end of the day, this is gonna be annoying for Neromelnick to clean up, but I think that Wisepii is just going to drop a castle somewhere around over here. He will push with the Arbs, and as long as these are not Cavalier, the Arbs will still eat them. +2 defense Cavalry isn't really satisfactory against Arbs, even with the extra attack. And we're gonna have more ranges for Wisepii, so that he can reinforce his army a little bit easier. And I think somewhere around here will be the castle drop. Neromelnick also going to Imperial as the 3rd player in this game. It is still dead even in terms of villager count. But at the end of the day, the army numbers are not really there for Yezris and Dracken, and the army quality isn't there either. So we are gonna have another castle being dropped here. You can already bring in traps if you're Wisepii, and they're playing very, very clean. They're playing super, super clean, to be honest, and that makes this team a super intriguing one to watch for the next round, if they actually get there. And it seems like they will, based on their current performance. Because I didn't necessarily think that this team is capable of beating Dracken and Yezris. It's tricky because Wisepii and Neromelnick are both strong players, but I felt that this matchup is actually fairly close. It seems like the map pool might be favoring Wisepi's team a little bit more. Surprising, on the other hand, that we didn't see a closed map from Dracken's team. I would have expected at least Regicide Fortress to be picked by Dracken's team, because Dracken is so good on closed maps. Still, it is going to be Elite Conquistador with the defense upgrades, but you only have 3 castles worth of production, and Elite Conks are not great against Arbalests. Knights will try to intercept reinforcements and do a counter raid, but the last player to click into Imperial will be Yezris, and we already have the traps being set up to trap down castles. So with that, I'm not sure how long Yezris is able to hold this position over here. There is a lot of space to fall back to, that's sure, but soon you will have Cavalier for Neromelnick. He does have a castle up already, which means that he could go Stir-Ups immediately. In fact, he should. So Stir-Ups Cavalier early on is going to be a nice power spike for him. He also is raiding the back of Dracken's Eco, and if you take a look at the overall villager KD, Yezris killed quite a lot of villagers, 34 to 23 is the villager KD, but Dracken lost 29 villagers and only killed 7 in this entire game. That was a problem for them the whole time, and now the castle's going down. There is no stone in the bank for Yezris to repair. He has repair villagers over here, but he had to just buy stone to get some repairs in for himself, which, well, at the end of the day, is going to be a castle that's down, 3 traps taken down. There is Cavalier for Neromelnick. He's still missing Stir-Ups, which hurts my soul. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be, I think, +4. Cavalier from Yezris. The problem is the numbers. He's got 20 versus 23. 37 Elite Conquistadors against 49 Arbs. This is still tricky. There might be a small chance for Yezris' team if they can get to Cavalier with, like, they need Iron Casting for this one. They need Plate Boarding, they need full upgrades for those Cavaliers to have a shot at this. Otherwise, the Stir-Ups Cavalier will just beat them. So, Conquistadors holding the hill very nicely, and one thing nice about this map is that it's awfully hard to push up against the hill here. So these Conquistadors will actually be nice holding the hill. There's 4 traps on the way for Wisepi. He's aiming for the castles, Blade Boarding, and Cavalier coming in right now. As we will have Elite Chukonu on the way for Wisepi, but I don't see any Chukonu right now for him. So that might be just delayed. And left side, rather peaceful. We'll have stables being established though from Neromelnick. He could actually start spamming those Stir-Ups light calves to do some raiding. And oh my goodness, Neromelnick, what is that? What is that stable, man? That's a definition of a forward stable. Dracken obviously sees that, but he's probably busy fighting on the other side as the Conquistadors dive in. Those Cavaliers are actually pretty sturdy, although it would still be kind of nice if they actually had the attack upgrades, because they're only 12 plus 3, so the Lithuanian bonus isn't really showing that well. They dive in on the Arbalests, snipe down the traps, sure, but at the end of the day, as rocketry is coming in for Wisepi, they're not actually pushing away Wisepi from this position, and in the meanwhile on the left side, there will be raids coming in now with the Cavalier. If there is pod in, then that's much better as a situation, but Dracken already resigns. Wisepi's team winning this one. I definitely thought that this is going to be a little bit more balanced, this series. You could see that the individual games were somewhat competitive. This game was possible to be won by Dracken's team. It was about the castle drops being denied, slightly better civilizations for Wisepi's team. The Islands game was open for quite a while, and well, the Arabia game was at least an interesting one. If Dracken didn't lose his villagers, I feel like they could have potentially secured the victory in that one. But Wisepi's team advances to the next round of the tournament. And with that, that is the final set of the series. So congratulations to Wisepi's team, and they will advance to the next round. If they win there, they are in the main event.